I'll record this here, just in case. Like, I don't think they're gonna trigger it, but I mean, at this point, right? At this point, through the day to day. But again, about that incident or about that incident with the police officers, right? Where like I suspect, being close to me as I was traveling, right? When I was in the hotel next to the SUV. So as I entered the courtroom, like not the courtroom, like the clerk's office, right, at the federal court here in the Southern District of Texas, Houston Division. As I'm entering the actual clerk office, which I mean, I don't see any cameras, but I imagine it's the federal courthouse, right? I imagine the thing must have cameras, it's just that they're not visible, right? Like it must have covered security, right? Anyhow, as I'm entering the clerk's office, a man opens the door, right? He's coming out, so he opens the door. I'm just coming out from the elevator and looking at the floor because I'm, thinking about what I'm about to do, right? And the man, he opens the door because he's exiting the clerk's office, right? And he looks at me and he says the following. He says, I'm going to try to put it verbatim, right? But I might be off with a word or two. But he said something to the effect of, "Oh, you look like you're in such a hurry." Like he said something that implied that I was acting accelerated. Like I was, like accelerated could also mean fast, right? I imagine. This is just me speculating, right? I have no proof that this is the case, because I've been to this sort of office multiple times. I already have never settled that. But today is the first time that somebody that I don't know addresses me and tells me this thing, right, that I look accelerated. So I think, right, it could be a way to kind of reinforce that matter, right, that I'm speeding, that I am acting erratically, right? So I imagine, right, the way it would have played out is that the police would have stopped me, right, detained me for some reason. And then the attorneys from the Robert Markers, Robert Martin Weinberg, KLPC, right? Those that we have lasted for a year, for one of their, shadow firms, would get a copy of that recording, right, from the courthouse, and they would use that as evidence that I'm a danger, right, to society, to paint that picture, right? I'm a problem for work out there. Somebody that needs to be taken care of. I break out. That's the idea. So the break out has to put you out of circulation. So the good off to break out. Something else really interesting happened, right? As I get to the courthouse, I check the docket. So I found anything because, I don't think they possible that they did something to the docket. Before I get there, right? And I don't have to show them document until I know that I can find it. Right? So I check the docket, and for the record, the docket, the case is open, because there has not been any action taken to close the case. And I check this, and it's February 10th, 2026, and right now it's 1:50 p.m., and it's already 20 minutes ago. It was 1:30 p.m. So I check the docket, right? And when I check the docket, I see that the clerk, his last name is Washington, the clerk of the public district Texas has been very naughty with that docket, right? He has done a lot of mistakes with that docket, right? So one of the things that they did is that they filed into this document a document that I found in the Supreme Court of Appeals, and then made a kind of a correction saying that it was missed document, right? They added like 2 or 3 lines to the docket that then they said to the word an error, basically, right? So that's number one. The second thing it is was he did a note, the docket saying that I have only a certain day to settle this independence. So I can't settle independence because Judge Hitler denied the motion to compel the church to do his job, additional supplements, right? So clerk has no issue with the time Judge Hitler denied the order or the motion to compel the clerk to do his job. Right? So he stopped the clerk from doing his job, which is an administrative duty, and that's exactly the document that Judge Hitler is stopping the clerk from fulfilling his duties, administrative duties. So this is an administrative interference. You cannot just judiciary act. Exactly what I just said. Right? So anyhow, they put the events in the law and give away a certain date until we have to prove to the court that I served the benefit, but I can't serve it because they have an issue of source. Right? But it's a procedural tax, right? And also, Mr. Bushman also filed a letter that I sent to, I don't know if it was the past, but it was filed in that court, I would say, October, something like that. I sent the letter, I did a marketing campaign back, I don't know, maybe 2-3 months ago, in which I sent a lot of judicial officials in the U.S., federal, right, across the country. The court deals to put them on this Cabello and how he is driving judges in the U.S., right? So I sent a cover letter and a copy of the book to a bunch of officers and clerks because I know they recommend the clerks, right? And I picked these officers based on the data of the database of Mr. Cabello, right? So I didn't send this randomly. These are people that are likely to be active in the coursework paperwork as flat in the database of Mr. Cabello, right? So, and that was maybe like 4 months ago, I don't know, something like that, right? So Mr. Bushman took that letter and filed it into Judge Hitler's docket, like, I don't know, maybe 10 days ago. It was January 15th, I have to check the date, right? But he filed it there, I think. It's supposed to kind of justify what Judge Hitler is doing, like to say, the same technique that Morgan Hitler, Heitner, and Troy Pickett took with the Judge Telfair, right? Like, show him my writing to infuriate him, right? And create the bias. It's the same thing, right? So what the clerk is doing is pushing a document. I mean, that document shouldn't be in the document. I did not file that in this document, right? I sent that to another person, but it's not the judge, it's not the clerk, somebody else in the court. I can't remember who it was. It was Elaine, it was the woman, right? But he took that letter, right? Of course, this means collaboration from that person because that person has to have given Bushman the letter, otherwise how he got it, right? It wasn't addressed to him. So anyhow, he took the letter and he filed it into Hitler's case, right? So I guess the narrative is going to be, oh, did I miss it? Oh, sorry, I have to send a message here. Wait a second. Okay, fast. So I guess the narrative, right, is going to be, or what's going to be, that Judge Hitler saw this thing in the docket, right, this writing, basically accusing hundreds of judiciary officers in the U.S. of being collaborators of the Cabello, who we said that granted by the DA, and he got upset. And that's the reason why he denied using his discretion, supposedly, right? But that doesn't work because the act of stopping the clerk from doing his job is not a judiciary act. It's an administrative act, right? And he did that. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they justify it that way because that's not what I'm attacking. I'm attacking the administrative act, not the judiciary. So it doesn't really matter. This is a thing where you have no discretion whether to file a document. There's no discretion on that. So this is interesting. The cemetery has the antennas, 2 of them. Imagine that, right? It's very convenient for the people that work with the network of the Cabello. Anyhow, but it was interesting that they did this thing with the document, right? So they didn't think nothing with that document with the thing, and I understand why, right? Because that's the document that is threatening to the Adams, right? Chief Justice NVR and William L. Adams of the Adams. but the most interesting thing, I mean, the target thing, I mean, I know they manipulate the thing with the truck, right? But the most interesting thing to me was that man telling me that I look accelerated, right? Because to me that looks or that feels like a glitch in the system, right? Why a glitch? Well, because they already know, I mean, the Venezuelan intelligence and Greg Abbott and all of them, at this point, they already know that I discovered the police officers, right? That I saw what they were going to do. And then I published the video I recorded in the car, like this one, on YouTube. And I also added it to the folder of Greg Abbott, right? So they want to be crazy to take it. Right? But they forgot to tell this man to not do his part of the rules, right? So his part of the rules was to put that recording into the courthouse security system of somebody saying that I look accelerated, right? I don't look accelerated. I was walking normal. But it's just part of seeing that narrative, right? Using a footage that belongs to the federal government. Right? It's powerful evidence. Of course, if you don't know that they're coordinating all these four things, and by these four things I mean that man in the courthouse, George Napier, sending me that email saying that I have no defense for the traffic light citation. Right? The judge that is going to talk to me on Monday about that traffic light, not traffic light, the light, the flag that I have on the SUV, like these are like safety lights that they're saying that are illegal, because the police officer said they were blue, but they're not blue, they're white. But anyhow, that judge has to be in it, right? Because if they're planning to do something with the police and that traffic citation I have on Monday, it means that that judge has to be in it, right? They're not going to use a judge for that is not part of it, obviously, right? For obvious reasons. So the three participants of are Napier, the judge, Sunday, and the man in the courthouse. And of course, the group of police officers that were basically following me around to trigger the action, whatever it is that they were going to do, right? And Greg Abbott, right? Who is the leader of the ring, basically, right? But what is interesting to me is that because they are in this analog mode these days, because, you know, they are aware that people are watching, right? And I know this, I'm not guessing, the informant told me that the informant told me a bunch of things that I haven't said. I know that they know that they're being watched, right? So now they switch to analog mode, and they forgot to tell this man at the courthouse to not tell me that, right? And he told me. So now I have one more dilemma because now that man is in the recording of the courthouse, right? And he must have filed a document, so his name is there. So, I mean, that's one more person that can talk, right? That can sleep and can say what we were talking about. So it's very interesting. It feels like it's like a house of cards that is just falling apart. Real time, right? All right, wait a minute. Well, and by the way, so I was also a little bit naughty, right? What I did, because I anticipated, right, that they will do this with the judge on Monday. So in the amended complaint that I just filed, I added the deputy that gave me the ticket, right? Because that was an act of harassment, and what they're doing and what they're planning for Monday is an act of harassment directly tied to the government, right? And he controls the police for them, right? So that deputy is on the federal lawsuit, the federal lawsuit of the operation of civil rights under the color of law. At this point, it's not a state law even, right? Because now I also sued the two federal judges. So now this is basically under the color of law in general, right? State and federal. So I don't know. This is going to be one for the ages and for the books. Right? This is going to end up in the for real in the Library of Congress, right? As a precedent, as a landmark case. You'll see.
No le contesto, no le contesto.
And I'm going to take this in this reporting just in case, right? The main defendant in the amendment that I just filed is Greg Howard, okay? The number one. So what I did, I'm going to explain what I did. I amended the complaint, arguing in this new version, this third amended complaint. I argued that George Telfair had a ministerial duty to recuse himself on the 8th of September when he acknowledged the book from the bench, where he is lectured and he's in the cover of the book. And he was entered into evidence by Morgan Hyper and the Arab Telfair. So he had a ministerial duty that he ignored. And he kept himself on the bench, ruling and making void orders and, denying due process by not ruling in any of my motions. So because of that, basically because he ignored his duty to recuse himself, I'm arguing that he was without jurisdiction. I will decide. So I'll just cover this point. And that's exactly the weapon that they've been using to deprive me from my civil rights, including my right to see my son. So based on that, I amended the complaint and added Greg Abbott, Richard Bell, who is the judge that entered the secret PRO that nobody has seen, and it was never served to me. And without a hearing. There's no hearing in the document, right? And he's an appointee of Greg Abbott, who I reported to the IRS. So I named in this order Greg Abbott, George Telfair, Richard Bell, Susan Brown, for not fulfilling her ministerial duty of recusing Oscar Telfair. Like, she had a duty as well to do it, and she didn't do it. Right? Of course, all the lawyers, right? Morgan Hyper, William Arab, and Troy Pickett. Deputy Nunes, which is the deputy I gave the citation that I have on Monday, right? With that judge that, and with the attorney, George Papier, that apparently works for the prosecution. He doesn't work for me, he works for the prosecution. So that's the first thing I did, right? The second thing I did was I filed a motion to recuse Judge Hitler based on the fact that he failed to fulfill his ministerial duty of filing the Second Amendment complaint. He could have denied it, but he didn't deny it. He refused to file it. And not only that, he stopped the clerk from filing because he denied the motion to compel the clerk. It's the job of the clerk, right? So he interfered with the ministerial duty of the clerk. And also, there's other reasons for him, right? I also sued Judge Hanks for the same reason. He left the Second Amendment complaint on the Musk and Kalanick case lingering in the docket for months, and he never ruled on it. And it is a ministerial duty to rule. He has to rule, right? Like, what he rules, like what his decision is, that is a judicial decision, right? Like, he could rule either way, like, that's his discretion. But whether to rule or not rule is not discretionary, that's ministerial, right? And he didn't do it. So I also sued for that. And the motion to recuse is also based on the fact that Judge Hitler is in the cover of my new book. And it's not there randomly. It's there because he's done all these things, right? All this obstruction of justice. So, of course, he cannot be an impartial arbiter in this case when he's in the cover of the book. Right? And now that makes his duty to recuse himself also ministerial, right? This is a nuclear problem. He has to recuse himself. Like, it's not up to discretion. He cannot return the motion. He has to recuse himself, right? It's a ministerial duty to do it. Okay? And if he doesn't do it, he's just going to end up with a chicken wing, right? And lastly, I filed a third document that is the motion for change of venue, right? Because obviously I'm suing the governor of Texas and all these Texas judges. It's impossible for this to have a fair trial in Texas, right? That's all. And I suggested DC, the District of Columbia, right? I have no say where, but that's what I suggested. It would be a good place to do it. Let's see what Grenada's done. I guess that's the ball is now in his court.